I didn't tell my son what I had hidden inside the old grandfather clock in the back of my repair shop. By the time he married a woman who saw my life's work as nothing more than numbers on paper, I had already begun quietly documenting every move she made. One afternoon, my assistant stepped into my office, her voice low and uneasy. "Mr. Bennett, you need to come to the back. Your daughter-in-law is here and she's going through your desk." I paused for a moment, not surprised. I had been waiting nearly a year and a half for that exact call. "My name is Harold Bennett. I'm 65 years old, and for most of my life, I've repaired watches and clocks on a quiet street in Savannah, Georgia. My shop, Bennett Timepieces, has stood there since 1987. It's narrow, a little worn, but steady like the work I've done inside it for decades. Every clock on those shelves has a story. Some are broken, some are simply tired, and over the years, I've learned the difference. My wife, Eleanor, used to say I didn't just fix timepieces, I preserved time itself. She passed away 7 years ago, but she left behind more than memories. She left behind the shop, her quiet wisdom, and one particular clock. It was an antique bracket clock she restored herself shortly before she died. She placed it on the shelf above my workbench and told me, "When the time comes, you'll understand why this matters." I didn't understand then. Not for a long time. Our son, Michael, had always been a good man, kind, steady, thoughtful. After Eleanor passed, he visited every Sunday. We'd share breakfast, talk about work, and for a while, things felt intact. Then he met Vanessa. She was polished, intelligent, and ambitious. When Michael first brought her to the shop, she smiled politely, complimented the place, but her eyes told a different story. I'd seen that look before. Not admiration, assessment. Still, I wanted to be wrong. They married within a year. For a while, everything seemed fine. Then the questions started. "How long have you owned the building? Have you ever considered selling? Property values here must be incredible." Simple questions, reasonable questions, but they came too often, too precisely. Soon, Michael began changing too. He visited less. He sounded unsure, like his thoughts weren't entirely his own anymore. That's when I decided to act, not loudly, not emotionally, but carefully. I contacted a private investigator, Samuel Grant, a former deputy known for his discretion. At the same time, I reached out to my attorney, Leonard Hayes, and updated my will, placing strict conditions on how my assets could be accessed. And I began documenting everything. Within 2 months, Samuel had enough to confirm what I already suspected. Vanessa had been meeting privately with a real estate lawyer. She was discussing my shop as if it were already hers to sell. One evening, I drove to their house and overheard her speaking on the phone through an open kitchen window. "He's not getting any younger," she said calmly. "At some point, the property becomes a decision." That was the moment everything shifted for me. That night, I returned to the shop and finally opened the clock Eleanor had left behind. Inside, hidden beneath a carefully crafted false panel, was a letter. Eleanor had seen it too, even before Vanessa became part of our lives. She had sensed something calculated beneath the surface. She had left notes, names, even details of a past legal dispute Vanessa had been involved in years earlier. At the end of the letter, Eleanor had written, "Some things aren't broken yet, Harold. They're just going wrong. Protect what we built." I sat there in the dark for hours, holding that letter. Then I added it to the evidence. Weeks later, everything came together. Surveillance, documents, recorded conversations, even proof that Vanessa had accessed my private insurance information through a contact. The final piece came when she returned to my shop while I was gone. This time, I had cameras installed. I watched her go through my files, photograph documents, and examine the clock without ever realizing what it held. That's when I knew it was time. I invited Michael and Vanessa to dinner at a quiet rooftop restaurant. I told them we needed to discuss the future of the shop. Vanessa arrived smiling, confident, expecting good news. After dinner, I placed the clock on the table. "This belonged to your mother," I told Michael. "She left something inside it." Then I placed the documents beside it: Samuel's report, legal records, evidence of unauthorized access. Vanessa's expression shifted. I spoke calmly. No anger, no raised voice. "You've been planning to sell my property. You've accessed my personal records. And you've been preparing for something that was never yours to decide." She tried to explain, to reframe it, to soften it. Michael didn't let her. "Don't," he said quietly. The silence that followed said everything. She left before dessert arrived. Michael and I sat there for a long time afterward. "How long?" he finally asked. 18 months. He nodded slowly, absorbing it all. "I was protecting what your mother and I built," I said. "And I was protecting you." He didn't argue. A few months later, he filed for divorce. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no public fallout. Just a quiet unraveling of something that had never truly been what it claimed to be. Eventually, he came back on Sundays. The first time, he brought coffee and stood at the shop door like he used to when he was a teenager. I unlocked it and let him in. We didn't talk about Vanessa. Not right away. We talked about a broken cuckoo clock on the workbench. About small things. Familiar things. 2 weeks later, I showed him how to clean a movement properly, slowly, patiently. He struggled at first. He wanted to rush it. But by the end, he sat back and looked at the finished piece. "Mom did this too, didn't she?" he asked. "She did," I said. "And she was better than me." For the first time in a long while, he smiled. Now, every Sunday morning, before he arrives, I wind Eleanor's clock and listen to it tick. Steady, certain. A reminder that some things, if cared for properly, can keep going far longer than you expect. And sometimes, protecting what matters most isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about recognizing when something is quietly going wrong, and having the patience to stop it before it's too late.